Seju, why do you create?
I create because it sparks joy. I create because creativity is about action, and action needs to change.
While it may only take one person to have a vision, it certainly takes an entire village to bring that vision to life. I'm excited to have in conversation with me today a community builder, a woman who creates, and a woman who facilitates other women to create. Seju Alero Mike, thank you for joining me.
Hello.
It's the second time that I'm speaking with you in front of a camera like this. And I remember our first conversation, it was really enlightening for me, but it was also electric, I think, in a way. We spoke about many things regarding the community that you're building, which is OSENGWA, the community that you've built. And I want to start by asking, actually, what does it mean to be really creative to you?
Ooh, so for me, I think that the space in which, we create, the space in which we bring something and birth something new into the world is as close as we can get to, being with our creator. Because that's the space in which we get to magnify that energy, we get to amplify and do the work that the creator does. So I find, what does it mean to create? It means to bring an idea from its complete void into a space that others can enjoy. The way you see the world.
Which can have different colors and perspectives, I guess.
Exactly, because we're all so different, That's one of the things I enjoy about the world that we exist in. Like, the creator is one of the most beautiful artists, women with men, with all of nature. The colors, the shapes, the sizes.
Everything is left to your interpretation of
Exactly.
what art is, and I guess what you can draw inspiration from. So I mentioned that you're the founder, or at least you have a community called OSENGWA, which you founded. It's a neo-African community for creatives. How did you embark on this journey? And more importantly, when did you realize that your work was bigger than you? I hit with the hard questions.
Wow. Okay, so how did I get started? OSENGWA really started from a burning desire to just experience some things that I didn't have access to. At the time, I founded the platform when I was living in the US, and I had creative community that was based in Nigeria. I come from a family of artists, and I have, I guess, without really intending to or planning to, friends who are creatives, because I enjoy being in the presence of creatives. So it started because there were artists who were based here, and I wanted to experience their clothes, their art, and I reached out to ask, actually initially to purchase some of these things, and then found out that they were not selling and they were not available. And I said, why? I want this. If I want this, someone else does. And I literally said, I'll be back. And then when I came back, I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy your things in bulk, and I'll bring them here and I'll sell them. And I had that conversation with one creative, and then he introduced me to others. And that was kind of how OSENGWA started. And it started with the fashion. It was clothes. I really wanted some clothes that I thought were fantastic. And at the time, it was actually Bio of Orange Culture that I'd reached out to. And then he, introduced me to a couple other creatives. And then I reached out to more folks in my creative community, and they introduced me to a couple other creatives. And that formed the baseline for the first, I guess, collection that we did on OSENGWA. And then as I started to showcase the fashion, the way you showcase fashion really is through the photography. And that's the space that I really enjoy. And I know that there's definitely a bias towards this because it's evident through the work that we do. And so I just started showing that. And so OSENGWA started off as a platform where OSENGWA literally means it is beautiful in Ishekiri, which is my mother's language. And so I wanted to show people things that I thought were beautiful from the African continent, my perspective on what was beauty. And apparently other people liked it, and they joined us for the ride, and that's kind of how we grew. And I'm really thankful for the growth being organic, because it showed me that, this thing that I thought was beautiful and this thing that I thought was enjoyable for others, for myself, others did appreciate, I wanted to experience. And when did I realize it was bigger than me is as the numbers grew. As I looked at the analytics, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. What started off as really a feed that was because the photos and everything that we shared were photos that sat on my gallery. Like I would screenshot because there were all these artists and all these, you know, folks that I enjoyed their work, and I would see something, I'm like, oh, I really love this, I'll screenshot it. I had no idea what I was screenshotting it for, but it was in conversation with one of my oldest friends and closest friends, and she's an artist herself and was one of the original artists on OSENGWA. Her name is Data Oruwari. And she was like, yo, because when I wanted to start sharing on social, she said, why don't you just share? Because she was the one I used to share them with her. And she's like, share this. And I was like, you know what, sure. And that's how like the feed started and people enjoyed it and they came. So, and come to hear that, you know, artists have been following this platform for years. They've been looking to see their work on the platform. So it was when I moved to Nigeria, which was in 2020, and started engaging with artists in the community here that I really realized the impact of what we'd done. Because as I started talking to artists in the community, I started realizing the ways they were using this work that I'd been doing without my knowledge, and how it had inspired them, or how, you know, they had leveraged something to create something else, and how they met other creatives to further create other things. And I thought it was one of the most beautiful things, and that inspired me to continue to create and to continue to facilitate that creation for others.
We've mentioned that it's a neo-African platform. You talk about connecting and building bridges between the creators, especially in Nigeria, where you're from, and also the space that you used to live in America, but also creating facilitating or connecting creators across the African continent in general. So I guess this next question is about the fact that you're a community builder and you've done all this work, you champion collaboration. I've heard people say that collaborate, don't compete. And yet we must stay competitive to stay relevant or even to thrive. So how can creatives strike a balance between competition and collaboration?
I think what competition does is that it should inspire you. Like, you know, in seeing someone else do well and, you know, progress and succeed in some way, it should inspire you to want to achieve the same or greater. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Iron sharpens iron, right? So I think that's fantastic. And I think collaboration does help competition in certain ways, and competition helps with collaboration. These things can go hand in hand in multiple instances, because that's how my platform exists at the moment. An artist who's a photographer but also does creative direction, work on a project with me to do creative direction for stage direction, you know? Right. And that was beautiful, because now both artists got to enjoy that experience. The one who was behind the camera got to watch someone else kind of help lead, and he could relax and focus on one area of it. The person who was, you know, doing stage direction also got to learn from the person who shot, because he could see his style and be like, oh wow, how'd you do that? Why'd you do that way? And that exchange is beautiful. But I think at the center of it has to be love and like mutual respect. Right. That respect is the core thing that helps to kind of bridge the gap between those two spaces, because respect is going to make it so that as you watch someone grow and as you watch someone evolve, you know, you see how you can either toe that path. And the way to get there too is to reach out to the person. Hey, I've seen you do X, Y, and Z. How did you do this? Can I do this with you? Or can I come and learn? And I always encourage creatives to be open to that experience. And I know it's a hard place, because
it's a hard place because people have been burnt. People have had their work stolen from them. People have had their ideas usurped. And it can be painful. It can be a painful journey to go through that and say, oh, I'm still going to be open to collaborating with somebody else.
And the truth is, it's risky, right? Like when you open yourself up to anything, you open yourself up to love, period, in whatever form love, you know, is being expressed. And to me, this is a form of love. You open yourself up to that, you're obviously allowing risk to come into the conversation, because you might get disappointed. Human beings are human beings. And I've had that happen within the context of the relationships that I have. I have no idea, but the creatives I've worked with from the very beginning trusted me. And sometimes I go back and I think about it. I'm like, guy, you've sent me your print files. You've sent me all these things so easy, and they still sit in my possession. Like, and you just know that it's okay. I have so much artwork from creatives sitting in my home. When I come in to collect your art, then I don't wear shirt shoes. Yeah, it's fine. We're good.
Come on, collect your property.
Come and collect your things. I don't want to collect this. Allow me hold your beauty for you. It's fine. But I think it's also reputation helps. Like if you do well and others hear that you do well, like the reputation in itself will stand for you. And so it's, for me, one of the most important things is making sure that like foundation of trust that I've built with the creative community that I have stays at the center, and that people know that you can feel safe in this engagement. I try to protect artists from me in ways like, you should have a contract in this experience going forward in this way. I know that we are good, but it's not, the contract is not to initiate fight. The contract is to make sure that everybody okay,
is safe.
And we've agreed to this. So this is how we are going to, navigate this relationship. And it's flexible. We can change it, If things need to shift, you can shift it. We can talk through it. We can communicate through it. But let's try to navigate from a place of ease first.
Yeah, that makes sense, because I was actually going to ask you, mention them. There's so many creative communities, whether you're photo, video, fashion, whatever, there's so many of them. And I guess people may want to know what makes a community safe, and what makes it empowering. So you've got three things here. You've got attractiveness, you've got safety, and you've got empowerment. I guess maybe that answers the question, but what makes it safe, attracting, and empowering?
So I'll speak from my perspective. These are things that I think have been, and I had an artist say this to me yesterday, is that, Seju, you allow us be our full selves, and I think that's important. One of the things that makes it a space attractive is to, when I guess, see a reflection of yourself. If the space looks like it has people that look like you, and experience the world in the way that you do, it's somewhat attractive, because that's my tribe. Oh, these people look like my people, you know what I mean? And that's kind of how you attract it. So for me, I built a space that I wanted that was a reflection of myself in several ways, and I was looking for community in that way, and those people found me. And then the second is allow people to be themselves once they come in. Like, it's important to feel free. Freedom, I think, is one of the baselines for feeling safe in a space and feeling seen. Is if you can bring your whole self to an experience, you want to be there because you are just naturally yourself. You don't have to go too far to exist. You don't have to go outside of what is normal for you. And then what was the third thing?
Safety, attractiveness, and empowering.
And see, and then that actually perfectly, aligns with the thing that I said before. Because I feel like part of why the creatives I work with feel empowered is because you can be your whole self, bring your full creative self. Yes, you draw. This is what they know you for outside, but I also like your photography. Can we see that? Also, did you not say you were dancing last week? That dance. Show me again. Okay, we'll see. And then because that's really what I do in terms of, the work that I do with the creatives. I want to see all the different ways in which you express. And after we've been able to kind of investigate, we don't have to pursue all those routes. We don't have to do everything. But it's nice to know what you can do, because it allows you, while you're dancing, you can be inspired to do something. The movement that you actually express and you communicate through dance ends up becoming something that you paint because you felt something in motion. So sense. I encourage artists, I encourage creatives to completely allow yourself express, allow yourself understand that sometimes you're in a season. This is your season for photography. Go wild. But next week it can be that you want to do film, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think a lot of spaces, when artists, creatives navigate, they kind of want to put you in a box. They want you to focus on this one thing. You have to be, really great at one thing. Why?
I was actually going to ask a follow-up question, but I think you've already answered it. And it was regarding about embracing diversity and identity and how that features into your work as a creative. And, finding spaces within communities that enable you to do that enable you to, accept who you are, embrace who you are, express who you are, but at the same time, also give you space to change and adapt when you need to. So as a semi-last question, what is one bold idea that you have for the future that feels a little crazy, but you believe could change everything?
I guess this one has been a bit controversial for me, is, the way in which we embrace technology in our space. OSENGWA was a platform that was built on technology. It was the thing that allowed me to engage with people that were across, the world. From where I was sitting was Instagram. It was the first space in which we were able to engage, and that's new technology that was coming into space in that time. We were existing before the algorithm. But for me, that has stayed like a foundation of our DNA. It's like I like to see what is new, what is fresh, and how are we, engaging as creatives, leveraging technology. And I think there's been some controversy there in multiple spaces. Is AI okay? Is AI not? How do you use it? Is this real photography now that you've done it this way? And I guess something that could change everything is I'm fully about the embrace. The embrace.
Embracing AI.
Yeah, I'm about not just AI, but different formats for I like to see the evolution, and I like to see how we can use technology to really engage with folks on an international scale, because I think that allows you to build community with ease in that way. But also, how do we take our stories and make sure that they become relevant in the new age, in the age in which the robots really are running the world? How do we stay relevant? All of these things come forward and are authentic even in that existence. I'm in a space of experimentation, and because we are experimenting, that can cause some controversy because you're breaking things, you're figuring it out, and you're seeing what makes sense. So I don't know that there's a big idea in terms of an actual project that we're trying to execute, or I'm trying to execute and work towards. I think more so what we're trying to do is learn and grow as these things grow, but I want to also grow with the technology. And I'm okay allowing for a platform for folks who want to do the same to do exactly that.
Well, Seju, thank you so much. I think it's really important, the work that you do, the work that any community builder does, really, that anyone who's facilitating the process, the person behind a camera, behind a paintbrush, whatever it is, I think it's really important work for them to do, because it is building these communities and giving them spaces for them to grow and experience and express, connect and share, not just within the community that they serve locally, but also globally as well, is an important part of our industry. So I'm so excited. I hope to see more things from OSENGWA. And a final push. Seju, you're going to say it to camera. This time you're not looking at me. This one over here. Seju, why do you create?
I create because it sparks joy. I create because creativity is about action, and action needs to change.